Okay, so this ride, the long drop we've called it, and it starts in Magadan, up in the Russian Far East, about 150 degrees, you can see, east of Greenwich. And we're basically coming right down that same longitude, well around, Magadan's on the same longitude as Sydney. So we're coming all the way down there, then we're coming across to New Zealand. So it's pretty much, you know, the length of the world that way.
Always that you're going to forget something that is really vital, whether it's a little lead to your hand warmers or whether it's a plug-in to charge your camera. It's obviously a fare because most of these things you can't replace.
The reason it's called the long drop is because we're starting in the public toilets in Magadan and we're ending at the very colourful public toilets at Otawahonga, which are actually called the long drop. So that's where we got the idea from.
We're like a group of siblings now. We've all travelled together a lot. We all know more about each other than we want the other one to know. We know we think we know everyone's foibles and their personalities. So it's really cool. It's getting together's like a family gathering.
The route is 40,000 kilometres, so it's a big ride. So we're going to do it in 3 sections. So we start up here in Magadan in July this month. And Magadan's famous because it was the shipment place where all of Stalin's political prisoners came. And then it was decided where they would go, into internment camps or out to work the gold mines or work the forests. And so we're riding north of Magadan up to a town called Ust-Nera, which is up in the Siberian mountains.
Yeah, the bikes are actually quite interesting because that's meant to be my domain, and Gareth was really busy when we were setting up the bikes, and even this morning he said to me, "Did you ever put a hot plug on my bike?" And I said, "I can't remember, but I know I've put one on my bike," so he'll be right, I'll share. And
then down to Yakutsk, which is the furthest west we go. Now so that's 2,000 kilometres, and that's the Road of Bones. So why it's called the Road of Bones is Stalin's political prisoners built that, and they died as they built it. They were worked to death, and they were just buried in that road to form the foundations of the road. So it's a very sort of historic site. You just learn so much, and a lot of it is just keeping an open mind and realising that people come to greet you with a whole lot of different prejudices and experiences too, that when they see you rolling into their village, they can be fearful of you. You know, there's 4 or 5 of us on big motorbikes and we can look pretty intimidating. And then we head directly south from Yakutsk down to Tinder, very close to the northernmost tip actually of China. And we follow that Chinese border. So we're still in Russia, around to Khabarovsk, and then straight down then to Vladivostok. So that whole section is about 5,500, 6,000 kilometres down to Vladivostok. The language as you travel isn't really an issue ever, because the main thing is that you just smile and you hold out your hand and you shake hands with everyone and you coo at their kids, which is always a heart winner. And when they offer you vodka and go to toast you, we'll pretend we're having it. I'm not quite sure about the vodka, but there's a hell of a lot you can do without actually having many spoken words. The main one is thank you, and if they're really cute, maybe what are you doing later? And then from Vladivostok, we just go a little further south to the border with North Korea at a place called Kasan, and across the Tumung River into North Korea. And we're going to traverse North Korea from top to bottom, and really the official start of the North Korean part will be up at Mount Pakdu, which is their most famous, highest mountain on the peninsula, and their most sacred mountain, where it's a volcano with a lovely lake on the top. So we're going up there, and then we will ride all the way down to Pyongyang, the capital, spend a bit of time there, and then down to Kaesong, the historic capital of the whole of Korea, and then through the DMZ at Punamangjon.
This is the most exciting thing about the trips. You're going places and you've just got no idea whether it's going to be a dairy in a pub, or whether it's just going to be one little old lady sitting there after everyone else has left, and she's got a can of gas that she sells to you at exorbitant rates.
So we have the permission to come through the wire into the rest of Korea, South Korea in other words. 25 million people in North Korea, 50 million people in South Korea. And so we will follow the spine of the tiger, they call it, which is the mountain range that traverses the whole of this peninsula. We'll follow it from the top volcano, Mount Pakdu, that I said, all the way down to the last volcano, which is way down here on Jeju Island, off the bottom of South Korea, and that's Mount Halla.
Gareth's never really relaxed, but he's very much a tidy finisher, and he goes through everything twice when we're going to do the planning, and going on a trip with him, there's usually very few stones unturned, but it's a joint effort. We all have different strengths and different things that we bring to this, and often people have looked up totally different things about the places we're going through.
And so we're essentially traversing that mountain range that binds that country together. And remember, this is a country with a 4,000-year history, and it's been rudely interrupted for 60 years by the demilitarised zone. Let's hope it's not much longer. The people north and south are the same. They're exactly the same race. They eat the same food, and you know, they share exactly the same history up until 60 years ago. So for us, it's a very poignant part of the journey, the sort of a unification ride really through the Korean peninsula.
I'm meant to be the medical professional. Is a bit strong. Really, they call me the witch doctor because I've read a couple of books on medicine, and I have a comprehensive first aid kit. But you know, it is very much life on the edge, and it's the way I like it.
And that's where we'll end this section, and we'll come home to New Zealand for Christmas before we then go across to Shanghai when we go back the end of the summer, and go up the Yangtze to Lhasa, and then down the Mekong to the bottom of Vietnam and around to Singapore. So yeah, so section 1 is Russia and the Koreas.